Daft Punk is indeed dope, and I'm an enormous fan of Daft Punk. I mean, they have influenced everything from my music selection throughout my life to other artists that I look at, and you know, we're the gatekeepers of our mind, so the type of music that we choose to listen to very much is going to influence our lives. You know, as you know, Richard said earlier, we are in charge of our thoughts manifest into our lives, and the music that we listen to absolutely incorporates the thoughts that are going to show up in our lives, I feel. The homework album is ironic because I always did my homework last minute, and I did this art piece over here probably 4 days before the show, you know, because I had a conversation with Rich maybe like, I think a week before the deadline, and he's like, can you pull this off, you know? I had done an art piece maybe like, I think 2 shows ago, and I was like, yeah, I can meet the deadline. But my work takes a lot of meticulous labor, and I'm very fortunate that I do have pieces on commission on a regular basis, so it's like I just stopped what I had on commission, did this, made it work, and finished it up the day before the show, and was able to drop it off, and it came together really, really well. Like, one of the main things that really adds that extra oomph, if you will, to my artwork is that I seal it with a clear coat resin. And what I really love about the clear coat resin is that I use authentic magazine clippings, and it's kind of just like if you take a photo, you go to the highlights, or if you want to edit it, like you can add like contrast, and it really makes like colors pop out of the image that you're looking at. So what I've been able to determine through my own artwork is that if I add a clear coat resin onto these clippings, because my artwork is a collage, so it's authentic magazine clippings that I meticulously slice and dice and put together this piece. And basically what I've realized is that if I add a clear coat resin, it is like adding contrast, and it just makes the colors pop in a really beautiful way.
It does.
Yeah, it does. And I, because it's last minute, and ironically I always do my homework last minute, I again showed up with it a little bit, not like wet, but like it was drying.
Last minute homework.
Last minute homework, yeah, my project was working out.
It's called homework.
Yeah. And I mean, to talk about the album in itself, you know, Daft Punk was really gaining traction in the late 90s. I mean, they became behemoths in the 2000s. Their music was so multicultural, international, bridged so many gaps between just styles of music, creativity amongst people, because no one had really come out where it's like, hey, you're not going to see our face and we're going to drop really dope shit, by the way. And the last people that maybe did that to recollection is like Kiss. But, you know, I digress. Their beat machine usage, their synthesizer usage, I love that stuff because, like, music that spoke to me is like my parents were really into disco. Synthesizer was really heavy. My sisters loved Joy Division, New Order. And, like, the strong 80s influence of the synthesizer was very much in my, like, mental lexicon of, like, music, right? A Rolodex. So, when Daft Punk came out, I found something that was in a new style of music that identified with the old genres that molded my character, my musical identity up until that point. But this was like my band, my lane. This isn't something that like I'm riding my sister's waves anymore. I'm not listening to their old albums or you know their vinyls. Like I finally found my shit, you know. And it was a revolution for me as a young person mentally, and it was really special. And when you had given me the opportunity for the Cover Lover remix, I mean, I kicked around a few ideas, but then it was mainly like early 90s stuff, like, you know, I like Madonna and all that too, but then again, that's tied into my sister's stuff, and like the foundation they helped lay down. So it's like Daft Punk really is in my lane. It's music that molded me as a person. I love these guys. I love their original ideas. I love the definitive of we're not going to do what everyone else is doing, whether it works or doesn't work. This is what we represent. This is our lane as we choose to go down, and they just annihilated it. I mean, yeah, inside information, straight up, just on how to deal with the labels, because I'm pretty sure that we've all heard about, I mean, since we're all fans of music, we all also have watched the downside of VH1, right? So it's like all these horror stories and all these artists that weren't able to really strive and do something with themselves. Or they made it, they were one-hit wonders, and the label ate them and spit them out, right? Happens time and time again. And I mean, when you have this original idea of we're having helmets, we're not showing our face, that's definitely appealing to a label, but it's like they're just going to use you and abuse you and toss you. So if you have inside information on how not to get tossed in that way, then you're going to cut special deals. And to wrap that thought up, their father helped them land a deal with Virgin Records, and they have a deal that I was even shocked when I found it, because they got their own record label within the label at Virgin, which is just like, how did you organize one of the top labels in the world to give you your own subsection to like get paid in the way you want to get paid? And
like an imprint.
Kind of, but like the royalties worked out exactly as they saw fit.
Right. What's a pop?
Who gets that?
What's a pops?
Right. You know, yeah, exactly. So it's like they're very lucky to have that inside info from, you know, somebody who had already gone through the circus. Like,
right.
I mean, if you ask me about the 90s, you've got the early 90s kind of like, if I'm not mistaken, Elton John was still riding coattails, and he wrote a song for Diana in the early 90s. So that was like one style of music that was holding on to the 70s and 80s and like the old style that was still like there and present. Same thing with Madonna. Her and Elton John were kind of in the same category, riding the old wave. And then you had a new tidal wave, what I just mentioned with the Spice Girls, which is just insane. They took the whole world by storm. They were in every single tabloid. Everybody wanted to know about them. And then it's like when you look at the contrast in the middle, you've got a lot of great bands that just came out of England in the 90s, you know? Yeah, so that just kind of faceted all kind of different viewpoints on how you wanted to interpret particularly British pop culture in the 90s. And it's funny that you say British, because me and my lady, we always talk about how like the British England colonial influence just ran rampant through the world because of their ties through just
all the
film, television. I mean, my sister was, man, I talk about my sister a lot because they're such a big influence in my life, but I remember, and shout out to Maggie, it's her birthday today, Maggie. Yeah, happy birthday to her. But she was stuck on a British TV show about these two ladies who were like roommates, but they were like super posh, and it was like,
absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely fabulous, yes. And you know, they're all I'm saying is the UK.
What I did.
Yeah, the tentacles of this monarchy, right? It's just nuts, and they really influence everything in the world, because whatever was hot in London in '96 was hot in Mumbai. It was hot in Tokyo. It was hot in the US. It was hot in New York. Everybody wanted to follow the British pop scene, but we've come a long way since then. And because of hip hop in New York City, I believe that these folks look to us, you know, in the 2000s moving forward. And I don't even think that's a question. I love it.
How you in the 90s talking to bring up Limp Bizkit?
Because I was a fan. I still am a fan of Fred Durst. You know what I mean? It's fine. I can sit here and prop up every album on some sort of pedestal. It's not about that.
You know what? Let's close it out. Go to the bar. Slow it down. Slow it down. I'm going to listen to the cast.